All right. Make sure my pages are pulled up that I'm probably not gonna reference back to. All right. And welcome back, everyone, to another installment of Friends and Family Month on Screenplay Rewind. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ron.
Bro, we've done 5 of these. That's crazy.
Unheard of.
It feels like we just started these. Maybe it's because I lost a lot of years of my life to Taming the T-Rex. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Taming the T-Rex. It creeps. It crawls and strikes without warning.
Strikes without warning. Look, I enjoyed that movie, and I'm still exhausted from it. So
Right?
yeah,
Right?
yeah. It really feels like someone just took my brain out of my head and stuck it in another body.
Yeah. I hate it when that happens.
Oh, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Every time someone steps on my foot and I end up in a coma, I wake up in another body.
When you get in a fucking pillow fight with a mountain lion.
Every testicular standoff, I end up in another body.
Testicular standoff. It creeps, it crawls, it strikes without warning. When you hear us talking about that quote, we are referencing the amazing poster on the IMDb.
I would legitimately put this on my wall.
Also, just sidebar, how do you have the opening title card of this movie, which is fucking amazing, by the way?
Yes, I love it.
How is that not on your poster? Because it's fucking awesome.
It's so good.
The fact that they made that in 1951 is amazing. Because that thing is legitimately like fucking next level 70 years later.
I get the feeling that the poster was made first, probably.
I could see that.
That would be my guess.
I could definitely see that. Yeah, but just by the way, huge thank you to everyone who has participated in Friends and Family Month. If you just look back at the selection of the last 5 episodes, it is just like the perfect encapsulation of what we want from this feature we do, because in what universe would you and me pick some of these movies for the show? It wouldn't happen.
Never would have happened.
It adds a lot of versatility and surprise, and for better or for worse, you get like us just like, what the fuck did we just watch?
Either way, the podcasts themselves were a fun time.
Yeah, it's always fun to do like sometimes, you watch a movie as long as you're able to kind of like have the catharsis of talking it out with a bud, it always makes, it's like when you watch a bad movie with friends, it's always much more fun.
Right.
You always have that kind of engagement with the audience or with friends, just in any way you can make it like a kind of community involvement. It always makes it a lot more fun. So yeah, huge thank you to everyone that's participated. And Ron, would you like to introduce what our movie is for this week? We have one question, but let's just introduce the movie real fast.
Our movie this time came in from my dad, The Thing from Another World from 1951, the precursor to John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which, by the way, I see where he pulled his title from, because The Thing is featured prominently in all of the marketing and even the title of the movie itself. And From Another World is like a subtitle almost underneath it.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful way to get inspired by a movie and still pay homage to it with their title.
It's crazy. I have a poster that we've talked about before of John Carpenter's The Thing on my wall. It is probably my favorite movie of all time. I had never seen this 50s version. This was my first time today watching it.
My dad, at least the last time he saw them, preferred this movie over John Carpenter's.
I can see that if you are from like that
era?
point of from that era, from like that point of view where, and we'll talk about it. I think the way this movie is structured to reformat what this original story of what it's based on into a pure 1950s sci-fi kind of like, they basically like took the story of The Thing and turned it into a Universal Monsters movie. Because that's what the thing to do back then was. That was all everyone wanted. That was all everyone wanted back then, was we got to figure out a way to make our own type of universal, creature, which they did.
James Arness is basically Frankenstein's monster.
Basically. And they have a, you know, very sciencey side plot to like what is making him work as far as like the plant life stuff that we'll talk about. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Very,
In
very
the
interesting.
days before the exposition computer, there was the exposition scientist.
Yeah. But before we talk about the thing from another world, which is officially, I think, our ending to Friends and Family Month. We went with the bonus one. We hit 5 back-to-back weeks of episodes. Pretty crazy.
A new stretch.
Yeah. What's our question for this week that you had for us?
Our question is not for us. My wife, Christina.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good night.
My wife, Christina, has a question for the listeners.
Uh-oh. We have listeners?
It turns out, believe it or
been
not,
on this whole time.
I picked this up at a garage sale. It was just for decoration. I was trying to impress my girlfriend. I have a podcast. Date me.
Ron, are you wearing a wire?
She asks the listeners, my wife, not your girlfriend, which podcast episode of Friends and Family Month was the best one? Not the movies we watched, our reactions to them.
Interesting. Yeah, I will be interested to hear the outcome of this. If I had to imagine, I would imagine it is either going to be Tammy and the T-Rex.
That was my guess.
Or Moulin Rouge, because I feel like those were the most like unhinged episodes. Mostly because I was unhinged the entire time.
I feel like Moulin Rouge for like the first 15 minutes, like you were under the impression we both didn't like it, and I was under the impression we both did like it. I feel like we were both confused, but yet we were talking back and forth and agreeing on things. It was so weird. It was so weird.
And even then, like, you liked it, but you didn't like love it. And there are aspects of it that I hated, but I talked about like there's some stuff I genuinely like really like about it. It was just like a weird reaction because like you were, you know, you liked it, but you basically said like if it's on in the background, I'll kind of pay attention to it, but not really. You know, like not very glowing endorsement. And parts of it I liked, parts of it I hated. Yeah, it's been a very interesting month, but it's, you know, it's always fun to just have stuff picked for you so you're outside your wheelhouse. Otherwise, every fucking episode would be like a Lovecraftian thing if it was up to me, you know.
Yeah. It's been a good time. It's been a good year.
What's been your favorite one to record, Ron?
Memories of Murder. Oh, to record? I gotta say, it's gotta be Tammy and the T-Rex. I feel like during that episode, I was just that gif of Stephen Colbert with the giant bucket of popcorn and the 3D glasses. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
It has to be that one for me. To watch though was Memories of Murder.
Yeah, Memories of Murder is absolutely fantastic, and it is actually criminal that I had not seen it until just this year.
It led me down the deepest rabbit hole I've ever gone on a movie, I think.
Right? Yeah. I was talking to Soapy about that, and he said he did the exact same thing the first time he watched that movie. He spent like the entire next day, like we did, like going through Wikipedia pages, looking up documentaries, because like you cannot help but get sucked into that case, just like those detectives did in the movie. Like you're along for the ride. Yeah,
it's such a bizarre chain of events that occurred. You know,
that for a lot of people, like you and myself, like it went under the radar. Like I wasn't familiar with it, and you learn more about it, and it's so interesting and so fascinating and so sad that you're just like, how did I not hear about this? Because yeah, like you said, just very, very bizarre. But yeah, I think the most fun I've had recording was Tammy the T-Rex.
Did you
had just like
did you have fun?
I had fun recording about it. I was fucking mad for like 90% of that movie.
Oh my god. Good
as soon as Paul Walker gets fucking mauled by the mountain lion and doesn't have a goddamn scratch or bandage on him, I was like, all right, fuck y'all.
Not even a ketchup packet. Nothing.
I have mentally checked out of this film just like your costuming department did. I am out. Goodbye. But yeah, that's a good one. I'm excited and terrified for what awaits us next year in Friends and Family Month.
Yeah, it seems like they're learning what the way we actually designed Friends and Family Month to be.
Yeah, and
that scares me.
They all seem to be in agreement of like trying to alternate between good movie, bad movie. So we're always going to be in for like, yeah, they're learning.
They creep, they crawl, they strike without warning.
They pick Timmy and the T-Rex without warning. Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
Next year we're in for a couple of potentially awesome movies we're not familiar with, or we'll revisit, and terrible monstrosities that will make me sad and very angry, I'm sure.
But it'll be a good time.
It'll be a great time. It's always fun to record.
So yes, if you would like to write in and tell us, you the audience member, please listen. If you would like to write in and tell us which episode was your favorite to listen to, and I'm going to go ahead and tack on which was your favorite movie out of the lot as well. So favorite episode that we did and favorite movie. I'm curious.
Yeah, I am curious as well. So you can write into us, into the YouTube comments. You can email us screenplayrewind@gmail.com, or you can also send questions for Ron and myself to, discuss at the beginning of each episode like we do, or on Twitter at SPR Filmcast, which, by the way, on Twitter, you know how I've been talking about like leaving Twitter because I'm just sick of the just crazy shit happening all the time and just the nonsense. I finally got my email for Blue Sky. I got my invitation and I started to sign up for it, and I was like, I'm too lazy for this, and I just ignored the email. I can't be bothered to plug in my fucking email and create a password. It's like, you know what? Because once I create this account, I'm going to have to go through the trouble of trying to find the people that I follow on Twitter. I'm just like, fuck it, man. I don't care. I don't need another social media page that bad.
That has got to be the most Jeff thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I was just like, please. I'm on the Titanic begging for a lifeboat. It's presented as like, nah, I'm good. Y'all have fun.
It's like you're trying to get into what was it? Was it the Stork Club? What was the famous club where all the movie stars hung out?
Oh God, I can't remember.
The Flamingo, the Stork. It was a bird, right? The Iceberg Lounge. Was it the Iceberg Lounge?
Yeah, it's a penguin.
I can just see you in that era finally getting invited to go, but you had to like write your name down on a clipboard as you walk in. You're like, you know what? I'm good. And you just go across the street to a bar.
It is like, just the most arbitrary bridge too far.
Like you skipped the rope and everything, but I'm not interested suddenly.
I got the code in the email that you have to have, and it's like download the app. So I download the app and I click it, and it's like sign up. I'm just like, you know what? I'm good, man. I don't fucking care. I'm good. I thought you would enjoy that.
Your Blue Skies.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Planet Namek's Green Skies.
Oh fuck,
Lord.
Dude. Yeah, I thought you would appreciate that anecdote of just how my life works.
That is the most Jeff thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate that. But yeah, we talked about in the last episode, your dad had picked this because this was something that he watched as a kid for the first time, right?
Yes, I don't know exactly when. The movie came out when he was 3, so I doubt he saw it in theaters. I don't know how old he was when he watched it. I'll see him tomorrow. I'll ask him that and follow up. I'm curious.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we've already talked a little bit about the plot, but spoilers for The Thing from Another World, 1951. Also, just because you have watched John Carpenter's The Thing, this is a completely different story with completely different characters. And one of my favorite things I've learned about this that I didn't actually know, because I always assumed the Carpenter version, because, like they have like the title card homaging it,
right,
and it's clearly influenced by it, sort of. But have you ever looked up the original story that both the movies are based on?
No, but this one being so different, I was very curious to see if it was on like Audible or something.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Okay, so the original story that both of these are based on, and this movie credits it as, based on the story of who goes there, even though it's completely different. So what's fascinating about this, the thing from another world completely changes the story of the novella.
Okay.
And the Carpenter version is actually incredibly faithful to the novella, down to
Really?
them even having the same character names for the majority of the characters. Like McCready, Blair, pretty much all the main characters from the Carpenter version are characters from the novella.
Interesting.
Because the novella, you know how like this movie, how we talked about how they basically took the premise of the thing, of it imitating in like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers type way, and they just converted it to be a Universal Studios monster movie. All of the imitation stuff is in the novella.
Really?
Yeah, it's fascinating. They have this like core concept that is just ingenious, and they were so like beholden. They were so beholden to the times that they probably couldn't get it made unless it was a monster creature feature. They probably, if they had submitted that script, which is an amazing story, like the concept for the thing with like imitating people and just like that, like that perfect use. Like we talked about in our original review of it, but like that perfect use of just the isolation and the paranoia, and just one of like the most ingenious and simple not character concepts, but like creature concepts and just like story concepts of the setting and this monster's abilities, and just completely retrofitting it for a movie in the era was probably like the most interesting thing about this movie to me, as someone who absolutely adores the Carpenter version and is just like a nerd for movies in general, because it's interesting to see them make it this way. I don't know how like you felt about it.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting, because the thing that I did not expect was for it to be basically Frankenstein's monster, even
Well, you
even
know why you
all the
didn't
way
expect
down
it,
to
right?
the North Pole. So why?
You know why you didn't? It strikes without warning, man.
I knew it. I could just see it crawling towards me that you were gonna say that. You fucking creep. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting and weird moment in time, right? Like, on the one hand, you feel like this is a pretty typical movie for the 1950s, but it's also strangely a little bit ahead of its time. Like, okay, if you watch as much Mystery Science Theater as I have, it's very easy to think of every single black and white movie from the 40s, 50s, and 60s under like one lens, just under one category, because the acting is all very similar. The way they talk is all very similar. It's that rapid pace. Got to spit out as much dialogue as possible. As a lot of nouns, a lot of word salad as possible. But this movie is actually, it does a lot of those tropes, but it does it better than most movies I have seen from the era, either just straight up watching or through Mystery Science Theater. But it's got some weird tones to it, Jeff. It's got some weird tones.
It's bizarre. You know what's also like interesting is like you're talking about how it's kind of like ahead of its time.
Not far, but a little bit.
The tone of this is very Twilight Zone, but this predates Twilight Zone by 8 years. So Twilight Zone has like a decent amount of the thing from another world energy, of that kind of like incredibly dry character work based around like the core concepts. You know how like in the Twilight Zone, characters only exist to like push forward the concept, basically. Right. That's like what this movie is to a T. Like I couldn't tell you anybody's name except for the main captain guy.
You like, know his name?
Yeah, because it's like it always sounds like they're saying Henry, but it's like Hendry, which is weird. And because I made note of that because I was like, I swear to God, they're all saying Henry, but he's credited as Hendry and everything, and I don't know. But yeah, let's talk about the directorial credits real fast.
Okay.
So it is directed by Christian Nyby. Uncredited is Howard Hawks, who is listed as kind of like an EP in this movie, which is based on it on the way that it's talked about online from what I've seen. It almost feels like this is a little bit of a poltergeist situation. Have you ever seen Poltergeist? Or
No.
do you know of like, so Spielberg was an EP on it, and Tobe Hooper is listed as the official director, but pretty much word of mouth and kind of like Hollywood history has informed the fact that that movie was not him. It was pretty much all Spielberg. It seems like this was a similar thing, because if you actually look around at a lot of like the kind of gossip around this movie, it almost feels like Howard Hawks like made this movie. Really weird. Always strange when that happens. But
The
Charles
mind
Letter,
boggles.
John W. Howard Hawks. He creeps. He crawls. He strikes without warning. Let's see, where was that? Where was I at? Charles Lederer, Howard Hawks. Again, uncredited with part of the writing. And Ben Hecht also uncredited as the one of the writers. And John W. Campbell Jr., who had written the Who Goes There short story, or novella, I forget which length it was, but the original story that all these movies are based on. I almost don't know how much time we need to spend on the cast, because it is a complete afterthought in this movie.
Yeah.
This movie could not care less about its characters, which is really weird.
Considering
But not,
this
but-
whole
but-
movie is
so-
the characters.
So it's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's a negative thing when I say it couldn't care less about its characters, but that's not a damning thing, because that's just the way movies were made back then.
I was going to say, it's a different style of
it's-
filmmaking.
It is completely different style of filmmaking, because the characters are not there to be developed, to be challenged, really. They are just there as fodder to push along the core concept, or like the monster, whatever. Like they are plot devices. They are not people. And that is just the way movies were made. So I can easily watch a movie from this era and, watch it with 2023 eyes and be like, I mean, this is kind of, stupid that these characters don't really develop at all. And there's not really any like dynamics between them, but that's just not the point of the movie. It wasn't even in the back of their mind, because it wasn't the way movies were made.
Right.
So it's kind of like an unfair criticism, I guess. Do you feel similarly?
I'm thinking about it. It's interesting because a movie that is this old, you almost have to look at it, two ways simultaneously, because we can't help but look at it with 2023 eyes, because that's where we exist now. And this is a very bizarre film according to 2023 filmmaking. But in 1951, I mean, this is a pretty solid example of a Universal horror movie, which was, for all intents and purposes, the 1950s and 60s MCU, right?
Yeah. I was gonna put that out too. It's like that was the driving force of Hollywood.
Yes, was the Universal monster movies, and now we just have the Mummy. No, Tom Cruise. We don't even have that anymore. Anyways, I forgot.
They'll bring it. They'll bring it back. Somebody will unearth the Book of the Dead, and they'll read from the book when they shouldn't read from the book, and it'll be back.
That happens a lot around here. Yeah, it's...
I will quickly run through the casts.
Yes.
So we have Kenneth Tobey, who plays the lead, who is
Who?
Captain Patrick Henry. I don't fucking know. Margaret Sheridan, who plays Nikki Nicholson, who sounds like a fucking Stanley comic book character with that name.
sounds like a character in James Bond over at MI6. She works with Moneypenny.
We have James Arness, who is playing the Thing, who creeps, who crawls. James Arness strikes without a warning. Robert Cornthwaite,
You all right there?
His name sounds more like a fictional name than his actual name in the movie of Dr. Arthur Carrington.
Which is why you choked over it trying to say it.
Yeah.
I tried to say it out loud earlier too, and I couldn't do it.
I've never heard of this name, Cornthwaite. It's like the sound you make when you're trying to get something like out of your throat, man.
Oh,
What
man.
is this? Douglas Spencer is Ned Scott. James Young, Lieutenant Eddie Dykes. Dewey Martin, Crew Chief Bob. Can we start calling Bobby Crew Chief Bob? I want his Steam account to be Crew Chief Bob. That way when we're all like deploying in PUBG, he can be Crew Chief Bob.
Crew Chief Bob. Okay. Dewey Martin's IMDb photo. Tell me that's not a young David Hasselhoff. But in the movie, he was a young Bobby Flay. I'm so confused.
Yeah, it is very confusing. We have Robert Nichols as Lieutenant Ken Erickson. That is another thing, too, though, I will talk about. A really interesting thing to think of with this movie in particular, and just like movies of this time, that like once you like realize it, it's kind of like crazy just how much they did it back then versus how much we've changed as far as the way we plot out how many people are in a scene. Every scene in this movie has at least 8 people talking.
I know.
And at all times, I don't know who's anyone. I don't know the name of anybody. I don't know anyone's personality. There is just constantly 8 people talking, and I don't know what's happening.
They're all the same guy.
They're all the same personality. I'm pretty sure one voice actor did all of the ADR in this movie, just changing his voice. Because it just sounds like one person having 8 different conversations with himself, and I don't know what is being said at any time.
Now, like, we're poking a lot of fun at this movie, but I would argue that the bones of this movie are pretty solid. But
They are, yeah.
a lot of, you know, the 1951-ness of this movie comes through, and
It's wild.
It's really bizarre.
It's well, like what's wild about it is it's 1950 cinema, like sleight of hand.
Yeah.
Because it's like if we have 8 people talking at one time, people can't get confused because they won't have the opportunity to get confused because it's just nonstop information about nothing.
And we have to lay everything out, all cards on the table face up in every scene. And that is so much cheaper than special effects. You know, today, this movie would be all green screen and CGI, and the characters would probably be about the same. Like, I don't know. It's
well, what's interesting.
It's interesting.
What's interesting is like, okay, you think about the way some of these conversations in this film, and I'm not saying this is like a dig. I just find it fascinating how much like conservation of detail we've had in our movies and our TV shows and everything. Because if you think about the Carpenter version of The Thing, or like pretty much like any modern movie, you'd never have that many people having a conversation unless it is openly like a chaotic argument. You know,
Right.
You think about some of the scenes in The Thing, and pretty much all of them, even though they have, you know, like 10 primary characters they're working with, in any given scene, you typically only have up to 3 or 4 who are actively engaging in the scene. And the reason you do that is because you give them more screen time to develop and actually like flesh out as a character. Because if you have 8 people talking at one time, but not talking over each other, and that's not the point of the scene as like chaos, you know, there are legitimate scenes in this where they're trying to get across plot with that many characters.
What it does,
They're not obfuscating anything because they're not there to develop any of those characters.
Right.
They're just there to push along plots. They couldn't care less that they have that many characters on screen because they're not characters. They are there for the plot.
because at this time, we didn't work with characters, we worked with archetypes, right? All of the Air Force guys act the same way and talk the same way. All the scientists are very scientisty. The women in the movie are women in the 1950s. Now, I feel like at this point, we should say that sexism and racism is never okay. But for a movie of this age, it's actually kind of tame. There's a few cringe moments and there's a few lines that are cringe. But for the most part, this movie kind of does okay.
Yeah. Like comparatively speaking to a lot of other examples you could pull from 1951, this is it's a lot better. I agree.
But yeah, like hey, what's going on? Let's take a lynch party. Literally sent a shiver down my spine.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. Like, everything was going along so well. We had a few laughs about this monster trying to kill us. Everyone was having a good time. Someone shot a toaster, and then this guy just brings out lynching. Like,
Come out to the Arctic base. We'll get together, have a few laughs.
like what?
Yeah, that's when you just slowly back out of the scary door.
I about slowly backed out of my own room when I heard that. And because of the times that we've lived through and the times that we live in, one of the characters used a word correctly, and it still made me cringe. And that was when the general was talking about like they've had a lot of queer activity happening up north.
Oh yeah,
that's the proper usage of that word. It just means strange or weird. And
it's just been retrofitted in society since then to mean something else.
But I've never heard it used properly. I've always heard it a different way. So it's kind of like when he said it. Yeah, it's got a lot of it's got a few weirdness like that, but it's fairly tame for a movie of its age. And I don't know, this movie fucking fascinates me, Jeff. It's
interesting.
It's so good. And then sometimes so bad it's good. Like, I never didn't enjoy it, even though it has some weird tonal shifts that do not mesh together. And I don't know if I just found it charming because of its age. Because, again, this is a snapshot in time, right? I mean, this is happening alongside our Universal monsters, which are known and beloved. And it's just, and thinking about the John Carpenter version, it's just an interesting thing to watch and even to look at times. The way they filmed.
So I want to talk about how I think it's really, really interesting how much Carpenter homages this movie by even having like the same title card when it couldn't be more different. Yeah. Literally the only thing it has in common is the setting and like them finding the alien, but that stops. Like them not bringing in like the core concept of it imitating people and like that paranoia, just like the entire tone is so different that Carpenter's version is more similar in tone and idea to Invasion of the Body Snatchers than it is to The Thing, from another world. It is so different to this.
Well, honestly,
for it to be in the same like lineage of film is interesting because it's just so different.
Honestly, I'm kind of down with the idea of a monster basically being Vash the Stampede, who is a vampire, right? Because, I mean, he's a plant that needs human blood. I'm kind of down with the idea of that monster. It's not The Thing, but I'm kind of down with the idea of an alien plant that it's Audrey 1.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a walking Audrey 1.5, basically.
Yeah, it's interesting, and the way that you talked about it being like a snapshot is perfect because, like, if you watch this movie, it is a microcosm of Hollywood in 1951. The same way, if you watch like The Avengers, it is a microcosm of Hollywood in the early 2000 teens. Just that is what is spearheading all of Hollywood right now. That it's like kind of fun to go back and watch this and just like see how much it changes from the original novella versus the Carpenter's version versus how they chose to adapt it. And it's kind of like it's kind of admirable to take the storyline and change it so much to where you made it your own thing. It wasn't just a one-to-one adaptation. I will say the thing multiple times. I will say the thing multiple times without it being an intentional pun. So
thing. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy, weird movie that I kind of dig it. I kind of like it. Let me ask you something about the novella. Is the blood test in there that they do in the John Carpenter version?
I let me pull it back up. I remember reading a little bit about blood being involved, but I don't know if it was specifically like the testing scene. I'm pulling it up.
I'm curious how it's involved because I'm curious if that was another like sleight of hand that John Carpenter did to homage the original, the blood being important, or if it's closer to the novella in that way. Yeah, I don't know. I had a thought that
he does. Yeah, the blood test is from the original novella, and it's from McCready.
I had a thought and then I interrupted myself and now it's gone. But did you pick up that I'm going to assume something that is one of the most famous things from Alien is probably homaging this movie?
What's that?
They use the Geiger counters to track its movement, and we have a very similar device in Alien to track the alien's movement. It's looking for differences in air pressure, and they can see where it is, track its distance. And it has the beeps and the sweeps and the creeps. And in this, we're all using Geiger counters to do that exact same action. And this was 26 years before Alien. But they're doing the exact same concept. So yeah, I'm wondering if the tracker, the scanner tracker thing that they use is homaging the Geiger counters.
That's a crazy thing to think of too. So the landscape of Hollywood from 1951 to 1977 with Alien, and just think of these two movies in your brain and how much movies changed in a 26-year span.
You know,
kind of nuts.
The original Alien, in a way, is not that different. Like, it hinges on the characters very heavily. It's more modern filmmaking where the characters are more important and they grow and evolve like we talked about. But it's a lot of the characters figuring out stuff for themselves and saying it out loud for the audience the way this movie works.
They're blue collar archetypes instead of, these are the army dudes, these are the nurses, these are the sciencey guys. And
this one particular scientist is definitely a like a Constantine villain or like a Doctor Strange villain.
I also love the Thing's go-to move of ferociously slapping a guy in the wrists across the screen.
One of my favorite things that happens in the movie is they're standing on the other side of this door that's boarded up, and it opens from the other way. Near the end of the movie, when they're set in the bug zapper trap for it. And it keeps showing this door that's all boarded up, and he literally just opens it from the other side.
I really like that scene when it's like in the middle of the movie when they're kind of creeping around, and at one point they think the guy's in there, and then they're opening the door to kind of like cautiously check it out, and he's just standing at the door entrance staring at them like that. I could have seen that being kind of scary in 1951. He just is fucking there. It's actually like a pretty solid bit of directing where you think they're going to open up the door, there's not going to be anything there, so they can kind of like creepily like walk their way around the room and like check all the like nooks and crannies to find him, but he's just standing there. Pretty good.
Just like a lot of the Universal monsters, if they're on screen for too long, they kind of fall apart. So you don't see him much, and they got to make real good like quick use of him. So the way he turns up here and there, the way he was behind that door, like you said, that camera angle on that when they open the door and he's just standing there is perfect.
Yeah, it's really well done. I also really, really loved a thing that they do that is incredibly ahead of its time is the fact that they don't show him at all for his first couple of scenes.
Yeah.
Like when he first is thawed out, you don't see him. You just kind of like see the one soldier guy empty out his entire revolver like like Vinny in the woods and then run for his life.
He's Vinny and the Thing is the owl. It's Owl 1, Soldier 0.
I love that decision. And then they see him out in the kind of like Arctic winds, but he's obscured by just basically being just a shadow. Dude, and it's kind of cool when he's fighting the dogs.
When he's fighting the dogs and he decides to beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up.
He's like flinging dogs around, using them like he's Loki, like he's the Hulk and the dog is Loki. Like, oh my god,
I have to get off this planet.
I have to get off this planet. The other thing that's kind of weird for its era, in a good way, but kind of bizarre at the same time, is you have this back and forth between the characters, right? You have the scientist that is wanting to try to communicate with this thing when we already know it's literally drinking our blood and has already killed a few people. And he's like, no, we have to sit down and have tea with it. And they're like, are you out of your mind? And then they all grab guns and axes. And then later, when they find out that he's growing more of them,
right?
And he's
just like what's his fuck in the first, oh god, what is Ian Holmes' name in the first Alien? He's got a little bit of like
Ash.
That.
He's Ash.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of like Ash energy to him, where he is just absolutely sabotaging the fuck out of everything behind the scenes.
Dr. Carrington's a goddamn robot. Yeah. He's struck without warning. Yeah, every time they find out what the doctor's doing, and at the beginning, before anything super bad has happened, I mean, the doctor raises interesting points. But when everything goes south, you start finding yourself siding with the military guys. And it's just, I don't know, the back and forth between the characters is interesting. There's no 80s slasher movie with the teenagers making all the wrong decisions, like that Geico commercial or whatever it is. And there's like the running car sitting on one side. No, let's hide over there. And they run into the shed with all of the like machetes and scythes swinging around and stuff. There's not a whole lot of that. Like, the scientist is like obsessed with the creature itself, which is actually a thing in the Alien books, by the way. And then there's one that
because like you think about it, it's just like you understand like it's fucked up how just nonchalantly he's getting people killed.
Yeah,
but as a scientist, when you've dedicated your life to like that as a profession, and you have the greatest scientific discovery in human history.
Yes.
You can understand, like, now obviously it's fucked up the way he talks about it, but you can understand that way of thinking where it's like, I'm willing to say, like, it's fucked up that he actively says out loud, all of y'all can die and I couldn't fucking care less because, you know, knowledge is all that matters. But you get that inkling in the back of your mind if you were in their shoes, because it's like, at all costs, we have to protect the discovery because the discovery is everything, you know?
Yeah, and, you know, 1951, character archetypes. He's a scientist that happens to be world-renowned and super famous that believes in the science. Whereas today, he would be the newspaper guy. I got to be the first to get my name on this. I have to be the first to get this information out to the world because if someone else gets it, I won't be remembered for anything. That would be his character today. So I thought it was also interesting that they introduce him as this world-renowned, famous scientist, but he honestly actually believes in the science of the thing, whereas, like I said, you know, today he would be a greedy, money-grubbing bastard, a lot like, was it Stanley Tucci in The Core that was the asshole scientist opposite Aaron Eckhart?
I think so. It's been so long since I've seen it, though.
It would have been that dynamic instead. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, and then can we talk about how there is this carrot from space that's going around wanting to drink everyone's blood?
Carrot from space, the alternate title. Right.
Going around
you better eat your veggies, bitch.
Before they eat you. Without warning.
My Brussels sprouts, they creep. They crawl.
Can we talk about how this thing is going around trying to eat people and grow a crop of more of itself? It's in the greenhouse trying to do this. And everyone's just kind of nonchalantly walking around and talking and cracking wise and acting like it's just another Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, that is one of the tonal things I'm talking about. Like, no one is panicking. No one. I would be fucking what's her name from Temple of Doom. like, I don't understand, Jeff.
We're not sinking. We're creeping. Oh man.
Oh, also, does out in the snow in the life raft?
Does it also, especially now that we've lived through a pandemic, anytime I watch these old sci-fi movies and they're just blatantly breaking quarantine and it just like hurts your soul and you're just like, oh no, dude, all it takes is one fucking bacteria from space and you're all dead instantly.
Like, look, I've seen enough anime, okay? If you do not kill every single cell of this thing, it's gonna come back.
Did you see, what was that sci-fi horror movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds? Was it Life? Did you ever see that?
Oh, I didn't know Ryan Reynolds was in that. I knew Jake Gyllenhaal was.
I believe he...
I wanted to see it. I never got around to it. It's been on my list for years.
I think it's Life.
It looked like in the trailer they make it out to look like they're being attacked by a symbiote.
Okay. A lot of that like kind of quarantine level paranoia with the alien life form is like, that is all that movie's about, and I really like that movie. I think it handles that kind of like creeping dread of it really, really, really well. That would be a good one.
The creeping
that was
dread,
also not
the crawling
that was also
dread.
not also not intentional. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I'm
the
going
dread without warning.
I'm going to accidentally quote the poster without realizing it. My bad. But yeah, I will probably have that on the show at some point because that will be an interesting movie to talk about. As basically watching that as like a double feature to this would be a really interesting double feature as far as like,
okay,
how much Hollywood has changed, how much and then this predated like COVID too, but like just taking that kind of like more they so you if you remember, like there were a lot of
the hell you say
there were not fucking the 1950s. We were talking about Life, the 2017 sci-fi movie, but Life has a lot of that.
You got so mad. So mad.
That kind of quarantine level like paranoia of like, we have to protect each other from this fucking thing that's gonna kill us instantly, like as much as possible, that they could not care less about in this movie. That it is a fun thing to compare, I think.
They're in the mess hall just drinking coffee, cracking wine.
They're just chilling, dude.
What?
The scientist is growing more plant monsters in his fucking cooler of Coronas, dude. Just vibing.
What do you mean it strikes without warning? There was plenty of warning. They just didn't look for it. Oh my god. Also, another note that I had. Can we talk about the standard operating procedure of melting planes out of ice with fucking thermite? Which, by the way, is famous for having incredibly violent reactions with water.
Also, all it takes is for this, what we know at that point is like a fucking flying saucer. Like, all it has to have is like one little tank of some weird alien jet fuel, and you have detonated all of Antarctica.
Oh my god. When they said they were going to break out the thermite, I was like, I beg your pardon, sir. Why would you use one of the most deadly things we have?
We can't stop. It's too dangerous.
Burns at thousands of degrees. It turns steel into molten metal.
They even have a conversation. One of them says like the heat from one of our jets could like heat up like what a 50-story office building.
Like, yeah,
I love it. But see, if they had that conversation in a modern movie, you would crucify it for being dumb. But that was just, cheeky kind of 50s sci-fi. They're gonna do dumb shit because of course they are, because there's got to be a reason for them to encounter the monster without following proper scientific procedure.
I mean this in the best of ways too, but one of the other things that was charming about this movie was the special effects budget all went apparently into the thing itself, I guess, and building the sets, because they walk around on the ice looking down, describing the UFO in detail, and you never see anything but the tail fin sticking up out of the top.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, they're working with what they had at the time. So it's
one thing I actually got to give this movie over the Carpenter version. I don't think this movie opens up with any thing that blatantly says it's going to be an alien life form through a flying saucer, right? You don't actually, like, my biggest complaint, the only thing I hate about The Thing from John Carpenter is them opening with the flying saucer landing. I don't like that.
It's a flying saucer before they go to it.
But it's them talking about it. It's them like figuring it out based on readings, which you don't know like the full extent of. It's not literally showing like the spaceship crashing. That's what I don't like. Because at least there's some intrigue if it's just them having figured it out based off like reports and readings and stuff. There's a little bit of like.
Yeah, I get you. You're not talking about. Yeah. You're talking about it didn't open up showing the Earth.
Yeah,
and showing the ship crash. I always forget that scene is in the movie until I go to watch the movie.
Yeah, and then I'm like, it's just always. Right. It has just always bothered me because it's so unnecessary. Because especially if you're watching the Carpenter version without having seen this,
if that movie just opened with the dog being chased by the helicopter,
the opening with the dog is so ingenious that if all it opened with was, why the fuck are they trying to kill this dog? That's it. That's all you know. You don't see the spaceship land. You don't know anything about the tone of it or anything. Or it just opens with the dog.
What if it opened with the Thing on its ship battling Mary Elizabeth Winstead?
We don't talk about that movie. If you want to know how much... That movie has Joel Edgerton and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and I still hate it. That's how much that movie cannot be saved. I can't fucking stand that movie.
But Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
I know.
Jeff.
I know.
Jeff.
It at least gets a 6.5 out of 10 because it has her.
I am still.
It gets a 7 out of 10 because it has her and Joel Edgerton. I love them both a lot. They're both awesome.
I am still angry that baby has her as the mother and Ewan McGregor as the father.
I love how your Lex Luthor in life is the child of Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Ewan McGregor because they have all of the genes that you will ever need.
That's going to be the most beautiful human ever born.
Or it just ends up looking like the Thing from another world because it's like two positives created a negative or some shit. I don't know.
She gets to be Mary Elizabeth Winstead every day, and he gets to be Ewan McGregor every day, and I'm fucking me.
What a bunch of bullshit.
What a bunch of bullshit.
The Ron from another world.
It pulls. It shits. It strikes without warning.
It naps without warning.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Going back through. This movie has a lot. This movie has like 57 alternate posters, and I don't entirely know why.
Well, that was the thing, though. That was the thing. That's a common thing of older movies. Oh my god.
See, it's hard to not use the word thing in casual conversation, right? I've done it like 5 times, and none of them have been intentional. Let's talk about how funny it is. What were you about to say?
This one poster that's in, I can't tell if this is French. Is it literally trying to say the man from Mars? Is that was just speculation in the movie? Is this poster actually trying to confirm that?
Which one? What's like the picture number? Because I can see
79.
79. Let's see.
On IMDb.
All right, I'm scrolling to the end. That is 86.
By the way,
I'm trying to find it.
I love this picture so much. I'm just gonna grab this real quick.
I also love what appears to be the German one of Das Ding. Yeah, I think it is.
I mean, that's what it looks like.
I like a lot of these posters, like the ones that are just like weird drawings.
I love the Scooby-Doo shot of the character.
It totally is.
On 81. Bam, 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 bam. Like, Scooby-Doo in The Thing from Another World.
And I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for those meddling Air Force corporals.
If it weren't for the meddling carrots. Oh God.
Man. Oh, I see one of the posters actually, made their poster out of the opening title card effect, which is probably the coolest title card of all time. One person decided, like, hey, that'd be a cool poster. We don't need to do anything else.
It actually has the monster in the eye, too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's interesting.
I dig it. Oh, let's talk about it, too. It's another like funny trope of like 1950s movies where like even in the Universal Monsters movies we have to like crowbar in a romance subplot. How fucking crowbarred is this romance subplot? That is one like knock I will give it, even as a movie in the 50s where it's just like, come on guys, what are we doing? No one fucking cares that the captain guy is dating this chick. No one fucking cares. What is this?
I have
Dang. To. Yeah, please elaborate on what you've just shown in the Discord.
It's literally a picture of a toddler in a high chair eating. Her life can be counted in seconds as long as the Thing is at large. The Thing from Another World. Howard Hawks' shocking movie. I think this is the poster you need to put in the tweet. I really do.
I feel like they needed to have a poster like never eat your vegetables.
Right? Oh, what if she was eating a carrot?
Yeah, it should have been a carrot. Missed opportunity. 0 out of 10. Get the shit out of my face.
What are these posters?
Yeah, it's
What
crazy.
is this next one? What is this next one? Hang on. I already forgot what point you were trying to make was. Look, as a scientist, I say we must destroy it or it will destroy us. The Thing.
I don't even think this is a scientist from the movie either. Like, why wouldn't they use a scientist from the movie?
There was no children in the movie. Like,
why wouldn't they just use, if it's going to be about a scientist, why would they not show, like, the actual main character scientist guy?
Science fiction at its blood-curdling best.
That's so weird. My favorite one is Das Ding, though, the German one, because that's just awesome. Love it.
It really dossed my ding.
Das Ding.
Das Ding. Oh, my God.
Also, this one of the posters that actually shows the creature, he's got a little bit of that, you remember in the Edward Norton Hulk movie?
He's got Hulk hands?
Not all that, but you remember at the end when they have the tease for the leader character when he gets like the fucking gamma ray leaking onto his head and makes his brain all huge?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks a little bit like the leader with like the giant head.
This guy really wanted to sing to them. I'm really sad he didn't get to sing. Yeah.
Also, major kudos to the stuntman that is on fire for like 7 minutes.
Oh my God, I would have jumped out the window too. I almost jumped out of my window.
That guy was a fucking trooper because that effect of how long he's on fire is genuinely like crazy well done.
Oh, okay. This is a shot that you should definitely send out in the tweet when this episode goes up, because this is one of my favorite shots in the movie. And if I recall, it's maybe the first time we see the monster.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a really good shot.
Some great use of lighting.
Yes, that's the thing about black and white movies I love is when they do the lighting right.
Yeah, and this movie does the lighting right. So like in a lot of like poorly shot movies from this era, when they have like a completely dark scene and you can no longer tell what the fuck's happening, like everything that you're meant to see in this, you see. Yes. It's really well lit. It's really well shot, and like you never get like lost in the darkness like you do in a lot of movies from this era. So their cinematography was really well done.
Yeah, it was. That shot is beautifully done. For those playing along at home, it's number 25 on IMDb.
Here is another one that I'm going to send to you in the Discord too. Once I can pull it up. This is another one, a similar concept for the shot, but from a different set. That is also just like amazing contrast.
Yes,
with him in the back. Yeah, it's just like when there's great lighting. It's when they're trying to line him up for like the ending trap where he's on top of the thing.
It's right before he goes full Joe Don Baker and picks up the like 4x4.
Yeah, just a wonderful lighting. I always love those those just like heavy contrast you get from these old like monochromatic, movies and stuff. It's so cool.
Okay, you were talking about the subplot of the romance.
Oh yeah. Like
But-
how fucking shoehorned in is that in this movie, dude?
That being said, image number 29, that is one of the best facial expressions I think I've ever seen in a movie.
I feel like that's gonna be your next once you
I thought
retire
about
Broadbent in the Discord picture.
I thought about it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So, okay. There is such a weird energy with that romance. It's not just that they have no chemistry together. It is weirdly abusive.
It's also weirdly modern sexy when he's like, "Hey,
When he's
you
all
want to
tied
tie me
up?
up?
Yeah.
When you want to fucking handcuff me? Like
And then
it's a fucking Tinder date in 2022. Like, what the fuck is this?
And it cuts to him like kind of tied up, and she's like pouring alcohol down his throat.
It's weirdly
It's
like
weird. It's so weird.
It's weirdly like 50 Shades of Thing, dude. Like, I don't know, man.
50 Shades of Arness. Yeah,
It's weird. Like, I don't think they were intentionally trying to be like sexy with it, but in like 70 years later, a lot of like what they're doing is, considered like sexy to some people now. So it's like, what is happening?
Yeah, how weird for the time, especially. Like, that is that whole thing
It was so specific.
What they're doing is not necessarily weird. It's how they're going about it, and the fact that there's no chemistry between them on screen. Because, like, I'm not trying to kink shame anyone, but my God, their lack of energy and lack of enthusiasm about what is happening, and him just sitting there straight up and down as a board. The whole thing is just so weird. Okay, I'm gonna
also,
send
you gotta love. I was gonna say real quickly, like when people are kissing on film or in TV shows in the 50s and 60s, and it looks like it's physically painful.
Yes,
They have a couple of kisses in this that look physically painful, where he's just like trying to like fucking Oberyn Martell her skull. I'm just like, why?
Oh my God. I'm gonna send you a screenshot. It's from number 26.
Okay.
You tell me, Dr. Fate or Dr. Destiny?
I gotta go Dr. Destiny.
That's what I thought. Has to be, right?
Oh, we have to talk to so one thing that goes like underappreciated when people are talking about like the growth of just like filmmaking in general, on how good ADR has gotten compared to how bad it was by default back in the day.
God.
This movie, I have to forgive it because of when it was made, but I love like that there is clearly like 50-mile-per-hour winds when they're outside.
Close the door.
And you think about like these same scenes that happen in the Carpenter version where they actively have to scream just to be heard, but the ADR, they're just vibing. They're just having a conversation like they're sitting around like a fucking poker table, dude. I'm just like, bro, you guys would have to scream to be heard, but the ADR is like less enthusiastic than you and I talking on this podcast. They're just straight chilling, dude.
It's like a 50s radio program, the way they're talking.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the facility itself?
Yes.
I think it's nicer than some modern apartments. Like,
It
think
really
about
is.
what it looks like. Think about what it looks like in the John Carpenter one, which is more of what it would be. And they're like uptown New York in the North Pole.
This looks like a really nice resort you'd go to on vacation in like Europe.
Yeah,
It's
in like
really
Norway
weird.
or Sweden.
Yeah, one of those like super fucking fancy resorts. It doesn't look very like. Now, what type of base is this supposed to be? Because I think in the original story in the Carpenter one, it is a scientific research base, but I don't think it's that here. Isn't this just kind of like an Air Force station that they're at?
No,
Isn't it?
I think it is an Arctic research base, but
It is okay.
the Air Force is doing the flying basically.
Okay.
But
Okay.
because
it
of
seems
what
very...
happens, it becomes an Air Force matter. Because the scientist even keeps talking about how they don't have any authority here, and he says he's going to take authority because it's a matter of the Earth. So
it's just weird when like the set dressing makes it look more like a hotel than like
really
a scientific
does.
facility. Very bizarre.
The mind boggles.
Indeed.
An intellectual carrot. The mind
But
boggles.
yeah, I had a lot of fun watching this movie just as a movie nerd, like just looking back on not even just like the story and the way it's been adapted, which is interesting, but just like Hollywood in general. Like thinking about going to a movie theater in 1951 and like this being just like the next level shit, dude. It's like, oh, dude, you gotta go see the thing from another world. It's fucking terrifying. Like the idea of that is so cool because you just think of like what has to happen in a movie to scare me now is like fucking Hereditary, and like what would be terrifying to people back then because it was just like movies in their early stages was like this, and that adds like so much charm to it that you can't help but like appreciate it.
Okay, I found one quote I was looking for. I ended up finding a second one I forgot about.
Okay.
The second one that I forgot about. Holy cats! I thought I was good. I was like, is Robin here? Like,
holy vegetable
cats.
Monster, Batman.
I need to bring Holy Cats back.
Holy rogue scientist, Batman.
Yeah, Hendry refers to him being tied up as Japanese torture. It's the Japanese torture sequence in Nikki's room is how it's listed on IMDb.
I forgot about that.
And, like, femdom? Femdom is Japanese torture? What? BDSM? Yeah,
that was real bizarre.
I was like, whoa. I mean, okay, this is 6 years after the war, but still, that is considered. I don't know.
Yeah, very, very weird.
It's very bizarre.
Very, very bizarre. I kind of like gave my kind of like summary of it just now. Basically, just like you can't help but appreciate just like what movies were in this era, and like what could come across as scary. Because like I can just imagine like putting myself in the shoes of people like in a theater in 1951, and like that scene we talked about like thinking was really cool where they open up that door and he's just standing there. People just like lost their shit screaming in the theater.
Can I admit
love
something?
Thinking, what was that? Sorry.
Can I admit something?
What's up?
There was a jump scare that got me.
Really? Which one?
So, as I was telling my wife, because she was in the room when it happened, it wasn't so much what was happening, because they basically lay out 90 miles before the thing happens what they're going to do. But I didn't expect the brass section of the orchestra to all sneeze into their instruments all at once. But when they open the thing and the dead dog rolls out,
oh yeah, that was good.
And the instrument just bam, and I was like, ah.
Yeah.
I'm wearing headphones watching the movie and just bam. I was like, oh God, what? The band
That's
struck
fantastic.
without warning.
The tuba, it creeps, it crawls.
It also had a lot of weird, kind of oddly like woke, like leftist humor in it. Like when they first fly over the base, like, if only the taxpayers could see this. Like,
oh yeah, there's a quote I really like where they will give you a promotion. No, they will promote you to general.
Yes.
What is the exact quote? I'll try to find the quote. It's really good.
Yeah, find the exact quote. I don't want to butcher it because it was a really really good quote. I should have written it down.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up. Let's see. Quotes.
Another quote I liked. What if he can read our minds? He'll be real mad when he gets to me.
Yeah, there's moments where it's
legit
like,
humor.
It is legit like good dialogue for like today's standards. 70 years later, it's crazy.
Oh, here's one of the things I was talking about when they're talking about it's a scientific discovery and the other dude wants to kill it because, save Earth. He's like, but think of what it means to the world. I'm not working for the world. I work for the Air Force. I was like, oh, bitch, snap, snap, snap. Like, yeah. No,
I couldn't find the quote on the IMDb quote, so I'm Googling it now, trying to find it.
Yeah. Seriously. There's one that caught me off guard. A quote you hear often today still is, here's the $64 million or the $64,000 question, right? Here's the $64 question. What do you do with a vegetable? And I was like, hold on, that was an expression before Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Because it was literally, here's the $64 question. And what you hear people say today is, here's the $64,000 question, because that was a stopping point in the game, right? At that point, you can cash out and go home with the money, or you can continue and risk it to get the million. So that was a thing in pulp culture for a long time, is here's the $64,000 question. So when I heard him say, here's the $64 question, I was, what? Years before its time.
I cannot find this quote. I even found like a link to like one of the scripts that people have made, and I can't find it.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not. Like I'm even searching like general, because it was like they'll promote you to general if you can like erase the evidence that they messed up or something. It's like something along those lines, but it's like it's really really well written. Just cannot find it.
Yeah, it was something about they were talking about they blew up the UFO, and they're talking about burning the alien or something, and that would erase all evidence that they messed up, and they'd probably promote you to general for it or something like that. It was I was just like, oh damn, when I heard it, because that's a very cynical remark of the military and the government 6 years after World War II.
Yeah, that was when that was the prime of people thinking positively about
American exceptionalism at its highest.
Yeah, it was like hoorah, like the military, and they have the kind of cynicism, like you said, that is modern. It is crazy, like how many times it is ahead of its time with just like some of the lines. And
the last thing that I can do to try you to buy a little bit of time for you to find it is, I love the asshole general that keeps asking people to come to his office, but before they can even step to the door, he yells, "Close the door!" as all the snow's blowing in at the very beginning. And then he does it like 3 times, and then the main character is just like, "Yes, sir," and I'll close the door as he leaves. It's so good. Yeah, I'm really sad we can't find that quote.
I thought for sure it would be like all over like the notable quotes from the movie, but it is just not anywhere. I've been searching promote and general, and as like a find in page in all of the script pages, and I just cannot find it. It's crazy.
Well, keep looking and keep watching the skies, Jeff.
I'm trying, man.
Yeah, I think I've pretty much exhausted everything I've got. What a weird, interesting, and I know this is used in a demeaning way a lot, but I don't mean it that way. I legitimately mean what a charming movie this is.
Yeah.
Because we're now far enough away from when this movie was made that everything that is wrong with it has come full circle to just being charming now and just being a snapshot of filmmaking in the era.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting how you still see some of the way they made this movie. You still see that in use today. Some of the filmmaking techniques, that gorgeous shot of the first time you see the thing with that lighting, with all the lights out and him being backlit. What an amazing way to use black and white photography. And I mean, to my knowledge, there's no monitor, right? They don't know what this looks like till they develop the film and get into the editing room, right?
I don't think so.
So that is straight out of someone's mind.
Yeah, it's kind of, like there's parts of it that are like legit like next level stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, and just what an interesting. I did not expect this movie to be um rewritten the way that it was into a Universal monster movie, and we keep saying that. Um, that I mean that I'm not using Universal monster movie as an insult to this movie. Take how you will the fact that it was rewritten into one, depending on how big a fan you are of the original novella and the James Carpenter stuff. But I mean, again, you have to remember the Universal monsters were the MCU of the day, like we said earlier. And
Yeah.
this is literally just a reaction to what was happening at pulp culture at the time. This is a non-Universal studio needing to keep pace. I almost said something really mean, and I don't mean it, so I didn't say it. Like, it's the DCEU of its era, but no, this movie's good. This movie's good, so no, it's not.
Yeah,
I almost said it. I was like, no, I don't mean that. I don't mean that at all.
Yeah, I think like the best thing that has been said was when you said how this was like a snapshot in time of a particular movie from a very specific era. And you know, like, it's interesting to think about. You know, like you look back at the decades over the years, and it's like every decade kind of has like their flavor of what is the thing spearheading Hollywood. And for about 10 years, this was it. You know, this was like the pinnacle of what they were trying to make.
And I would say, if you're the type of person that is usually put off by old movies or black and white movies or whatever, it is made in its time, but it is fairly tame compared to other movies of its time. It's not focusing on social issues. And the black and white is used to great effect throughout this movie, not just the scenes we mentioned, but throughout the whole movie. It's in an Arctic base. The landscape is literally black and white, even if it was in color. So the way that it's used is very good. The way they use the character archetypes. Remember, we're not dealing with characters so much as we are archetypes, but they're used to great effect. Like, I say give this movie a chance.
You know what? I don't think you've seen this yet, and you absolutely have to, because it is full of awesome uses of the black and white and like high contrast shots. Did you ever get around to watching Werewolf by Night, the Marvel horror movie?
No, I did not.
Oh my god, dude. Like, you need to watch it, especially now, since you're kind of like in that mindset for like Universal monsters type stuff. It is such a love letter to like this whole era, and I think you should get your dad to watch it too. If your dad has like a lot of affinity for the Thing from Another World, Werewolf by Night is just like such a fucking awesome movie and such a love letter to this whole era of movies we've been talking about.
It's an offshoot of the MCU, right? It's not in the main vein.
It is, I believe, in canon, but it is a totally separate story that operates basically like within its own like realm of the MCU, where it is in canon, but it has pretty much nothing to do with the main movies. So you can watch Werewolf by Night without ever having seen a single MCU movie or TV show and be perfectly fine.
And werewolves are my favorite Universal monster.
Oh, dude, Werewolf by Night. Like, I might have to come over there and just like fucking watch it again, because it's so good.
Using Japanese torture techniques, you're gonna get me to watch.
I mean, of course.
Jeff will he will crawl and he will strike without warning.
You don't have to tie me up to get me to watch Werewolf by Night.
Oh, I see the thing you were getting at.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here. We're going back on our typical quality of commentary. We gotta get the fuck out of here. But yeah, huge thank you again to Ron. That's your dad's name, right? Isn't your dad also Ron? Yeah.
But I will also accept gratitude.
Please. My father's name is Mr. Ron.
Please, Ron is my father's name. Please call me Ron.
Please. It gets confusing otherwise.
What is happening?
This has been Friends and Family Month, man. It's kind of crazy that it went by so fast, and what a fucking roller coaster ride, man. Yeah. We had our Tammys, our Tawnies, our T-Rexes.
We had our testicular standoffs.
We had our testicular standoff.
We had our
memories of murder. We had our drop kicks, man.
Oh,
we had
so
many drop kicks.
So many drop kicks.
So many drop kicks. We had Moulin Rouge. We got our Ewan McGregors. We got our Nicole Kidmans. We got our fucking Jim goddamn Broadbent. Oh my god, we got Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper. Who could forget the treasured moment in cinematic history?
Can I just point out in the Moulin Rouge episode, I think we talked more about the hotness of Ewan McGregor than we did Nicole Kidman.
You're goddamn right we did. I could just get lost in those fucking blue eyes, man. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Just got the high ground over my heart, dude.
Don't do it, Jeff. Don't do it. Oh my god.
From my point of view, the Duke is evil.
Oh no. All right. The show must go on, man.
And we wrapped it up with our bonus friends and family entry of The Thing from Another World, which we had never seen.
Yeah.
Like I said, kind of crazy. I'm glad I had an excuse to finally watch it.
Two movies that neither of us had ever seen in this this poll. 3.
Yeah, really cool.
3 movies.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Fantastic. I'm all about it. That's why we do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's super fun to have somebody else take the wheel of the show, and you just get stuff that it's totally out of our wheelhouse. And sometimes
Jesus,
we like
where were you? The audience had to take the wheel.
And sometimes
Satan, you
it works out. Jesus, don't make me turn this fucking car around. I'll do it.
I'll do it.
I'm starting to get a little loopy because it's late. And
I was punchy to start with.
Yeah, you were. This recording has been almost as long. Oh, that's another thing too we didn't talk about. I love how brisk the movie is.
Yeah,
it is fucking 85 minutes, and outside of the totally unnecessary Japanese torture romance subplot, not a single minute is wasted, and I love that. That is my shit. As fucking fine-tuned as you can make your product, the more I like it. Like, get rid of all the bullshit.
I think the reason this movie really falls in our wheelhouse is because of budgetary constraints of the era and technology of the era. It has to be moody. It has to be atmospheric because your monster is a guy in platforms with a helmet. And you have to make that work.
And your pacing has to be very, very lean.
And all of those things, the moody, the atmospheric, the pacing, is what you and I harp on about every movie we watch. Those are the 3 things we look at first.
What were the first 2 movies we recorded for this show? John Carpenter's The Thing and Alien, which is those 2 things like to a T.
And now we've come full circle.
Now we've come full circle. Yeah. Thanks again to everyone for participating with your movie selections.
Yeah, don't forget to write in with what you think the best movie was and the best episode that we covered.
Yeah. Yeah, go check out the movies. You owe it to yourself to watch Tammy and the T-Rex. Do you also want to feel like you need to take a shower because you didn't realize the movie existed with that much necrophilia?
I am more comfortable with the necrophilia than I am the fucking teenage striptease we got.
I also love how, they're teenagers, so let's just open up. Just
some of those were probably actually real teenagers too.
Full close-up of just really, really gratuitous shots of all these teenage cheerleaders.
Oh my god!
Like really, you know what? They didn't bury the lead.
It's true.
They did not obfuscate.
They were trying to bury something else from what I saw.
Yeah. Man.
Trying to bury their Ewan McGregor.
I feel like Tammy the T-Rex will always be a staple of Screenplay Rewind going forward.
It changed my life.
How could it not? Like, it's just crazy. Like, my life can be counted in seconds as long as Tammy the T-Rex is at large. I mean, come on, man. Come on.
Oh, that poor child.
Yeah. Poor me, dude. I had to watch Tammy the fucking T. I just remember I was watching that shit on my phone. Just like, mad. Just like, come on, man. Come on. But yeah, we already talked earlier. If you wanted to send us any questions or prompts to be discussed at the beginning of the next episode, be sure to email us screenplayrewind@gmail.com. You can follow us for show updates on Twitter because Jeff is too lazy to officially sign up for Blue Sky. And we are at SPR Filmcast.
At SPR Filmcast? I know
at
those
SPR
guys.
Filmcast. Sunday. We are able to be rated or reviewed on whichever platform you found us on. Likes and subscriptions on YouTube are always appreciated. Thank you to, we had a few recent subscribers I saw email notifications for. Really appreciate it. And any final thoughts before I announce the next movie? Any like final thoughts either on this movie or just like Friends and Family Month in general, Ron?
I've been trying to think of a way to vamp because we're almost to the movie's runtime, and I'm really trying to make this the longest closing to an episode ever. But I can't think of anything else.
All right, yeah, moving along. Okay, so we are on a truncated schedule because we got to get our next recording in before Ron goes on vacation. So much like, and the next one is my choice. What did we do before Friends and Family Month? Was it Warrior?
Yes.
Was that the last one we had?
Yes, I believe so.
I wanted to pick a just absolute like fucking snack of a movie since we're on a truncated schedule. And Aurora and I had just watched this, and I was like, I got to get this on the show. Ron, we're going to be covering The Princess Bride. Because, holy fuck.
The Princess Bride. That sounds very familiar to me.
I love The Princess Bride. Have you not seen The Princess Bride? Because you're in for a fucking treat if you haven't seen The Princess Bride.
See. It's not the one with the wrestler guy, right? That had the legendary
Andre the
fart.
Giant,
yeah.
Billy Crystal, yeah.
Billy Crystal?
Yeah, Billy Crystal's in a very, very small role. It's fucking hysterical. Have you not seen The Princess Bride? I thought for sure you had seen this.
This does not look familiar to me.
Oh my god, The Princess Bride's awesome. You're in for a treat.
Is this my name is so and so, and I'm here to avenge
my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
I know that meme. I've
you have not seen this
meme.
movie?
I've never seen this movie.
Holy fuck, dude! You're gonna have your mind blown because this movie is fucking awesome. It's so funny. Okay, so this movie is a like lean fucking 90 minutes. It is charming and likable as all hell, and it has amazing characters to it. Like, it's gonna be great. You're gonna have a fun time. Just like so fucking awesome, like so many awesome one-liners. It's just like so charismatic with some of the characters. Yeah, I think you're gonna have a blast.
Is that fucking Zorro?
Dude, what? Sorry,
I said, is that fucking Zorro in this one screenshot?
Probably looking at Inigo Montoya. or no, actually,
he's got the headband in it and everything.
Yeah, the main character has a little bit of a Zorro thing going on. I am stunned you have not seen The Princess Bride.
Nope, never seen it. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
I'm excited to talk about it, and it works out because I was just gonna pick it as like a quick little thing to Inigo is on the left, but the main character is on the right as like the full kind of like Zorro throwback. So I just picked this as like a snack, assuming we both already watched it, because I thought for sure you had seen it, but I'm glad to get to introduce you to it because it's a blast.
Rob Reiner.
I think you'll have fun. The Princess Bride is on Disney Plus.
Ooh.
With just your subscription and rentable on like your usually, I think it's on like rentable on like Amazon. And honestly, like easiest way to watch it is just through Disney Plus though.
Disney Plus or one app?
Disney Plus.
But
yeah, that's what we're covering next.
All right, cool. Yeah, I've heard a lot about this movie, but I've never.
I think you will really like it because
never seen it.
It is just such a charming movie, and the characters in it are just like so fucking likable.
Holy shit!
It is like one of like the
is Unicron in this?
It is like one of like the absolute staples of the 80s, I would say, is The Princess Bride.
Miracle Max. There's a name. Of course, Billy Crystal would be Miracle Max. Of course, Peter Falk is the grandfather. He might as well be the godfather.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, it's got fucking Columbo, dude.
Fred Savage.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Wallace Shawn is a fucking national treasure. Yeah. All right, yeah.
Probably Wallace Shawn's like most famous performance is this, because he's hysterical in this movie.
Is this the movie that would have gotten Carrie Elwes Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Probably.
Which is a movie we absolutely didn't have.
Yeah, we
on
totally
this
should.
podcast. Let
Yeah,
me your
I can't wait.
ears.
I cannot wait to hear Ron's initial reactions to The Princess Bride, because we watched
Because it creeps, it crawls.
we watched it the other day, and it's just like you're watching it and then it's over. You're just like, holy fuck. It's such like a brisk movie that especially with like us having to bump up the recording time frame, like you'll burn right through this. There's no issues at all getting it in. So check us out next week for The Princess Bride, and thanks again everyone for everyone who participated in Friends and Family Month. Can't wait to do it again next year. Don't know what I'm gonna get traumatized with next year, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna be great. And have a good night, everybody.
It is oddly silent right now.
I am totally out of drinks and voice is about to die.